Rolling down the streets of Nairobi, we met a sharply dressed, good-looking young man going about his business. This young man is not just your regular youth. At the age of 28, John Mathenge has learned how to lead a life of rejection, heartbreaks, stigmatization from having potentially deadly HIV virus, and even worse, being a man who has sex with men.
I was born in a very remote area, which is in Nyeri town, in a poor background. So after class 8, I didn't even have money, and my brothers were there and they were drunkard and they could not even support us. My father did not even want to support me because actually he knew I was gay when I was very young. So all my brother had money, so they used to discriminate me and stigmatize me. I knew I was gay, so I could go on the street, I could do everything, have sex. And you know, that time nobody knew about anal sex, especially like anal sex. Nobody thought, even today, not so many people feel that if you have anal sex, you cannot be infected with HIV, which is actually the riskiest. So we didn't know, there was no information about HIV by that time in 1984, and you could not even disclose about your status and all those kind of things. And at the same time, so when I came to Nairobi and working at the study said, I could get a lot of people who were attracted to me, and sometimes you go have sex, I get money. So I thought this was good money, so I said, let me just design this job.
Mathenge has been a sex worker for over 14 years after escaping home at the tender age of 18 when his family disowned him for his sexuality. This, among other ordeals, is a painful reality Mathenge has experienced.
Everybody used to say that Mombasa there is a lot of money, gay people, you get a lot of money. So I took a bus, I went to Mombasa, and I met my few friends who most of them have died. And we used to do sex work and being gay, not actually sex work, but you could have slept with people just for a place to sleep, place for food, and it's just somewhere to relax. In a place called Mamangena Drive, there are those caves. I don't know who built those caves, big caves, and we used to sleep there at night. During the day, we wash our clothes there, and the sea water, which is salty. Yeah, and unfortunately, my friend was very sick, and I had to have sex, and to make sure that I buy him some food. And I can't even forget, because after having sex, he didn't even give me even a coin, and I was doing sex work to make sure that my friend survives for a day. Just going back to where we used to sleep at the cave, he was dead. So that was the most, because I feel bad because I was not paid. I had sex the whole night with that guy, and it was I didn't want to have sex, but I was doing it because he was very dirty. He didn't, all those kind of things. So that was the most terrified something.
Although in Kenya there is no legal definition of prostitution in the penal code, it is illegal to practice and live off the earnings of prostitution. Same-sex intercourse is also illegal and punishable by up to 14 years in prison.
Sex workers are workers, they are not criminals. Sex workers does not need to be rescued. Sex workers need lights.
Different from Mathenge's case is another young lady, Lucy Wanjiku. Barely at 19, her dreams to become a nun were suddenly crushed after she became pregnant and contracted HIV virus. Lucy, like many other young girls from slums, she was forced by poverty to move to the outside world and look for a better living. Full of optimism, she will jump into the world without any caution of the danger awaiting her. Here is where she will meet her first love and her fate.
I met this one guy. We were sharing the same goal. We wanted to become a priest. We used to go to church together, read the Bible together, argue theology together. 6 months down the line, we started engaging in unprotected sex. At that point, when we started engaging in sex, I just joined Form 4, now in 2010. I registered for my exams. I didn't go to the best of schools also. I just registered for my exams and went back home. So I had so much time, and all this time, what did I do it with? I spent most of it with the boyfriend. The same year, I contested in 2 beauty pageants. One in Dandora, Miss Dimes, and another one in Korogosho, Miss Koch. And I won both of them. It was a beautiful thing because I was going to get a scholarship with Miss Dimes, and I was going to get a job with Miss Scotch. I mean, for the first time in my life, everything was going well for me. After contesting the TPT pageants during my exams, woke up one morning, I remember it was 1st of December, World AIDS Day. We went for a walk around Korogosho, and I came back and started feeling sick. Before I knew it, I was pregnant. I mean, that was a big disappointment, not only to me, to my parents, to the whole community. I gave birth to my son around July 29th, 2011. That's a day that I don't love remembering so much, because I did not even have a blanket to wrap my son with. I did not even have a vest to put him on. And that was the lowest point in my life that I don't like anyone to go through. 5 months later, with all those juggles and all those problems, my son started getting ill, could get sickly, could cough, a cough that would not go away. And I took him to different hospitals with different results. One said he has an allergic reaction that would go away, but it never went away. So around January 2012, I decided to go for a cervical cancer screening test. Now I decided to just leave my son to God to take care of him. And when I went to have that cervical cancer screening test done, I had nothing to be scared of so much, because I thought to myself I only had one sexual partner my entire life. So I didn't have so much to worry about. The screening came back negative, but at the same time I had to do a HIV test. One boyfriend my entire life was all that was ringing in my head. When the results came back, I was told I was HIV positive. What rang in the back of my mind was now my son sick because of me? And before I could even answer that question, he passed away 2 weeks after.
Living in Kibera, the largest slum in Africa, James Asia, a pastor and a father of 9, relates well with Lucy and Madenge. He is HIV positive and has been living with the virus for close to 2 decades now. Before he was infected and turned to Christ, James led a life of promiscuity and alcoholism. During this time, James will engage in risky sexual behaviors that will see him contract HIV virus, among other sexually transmitted diseases.
Mwanzo nilikuwa mwanaraha sana, nikaweza kutembea na wasichana wengi bila kuchua ni nini nafanya. Hapo ndivyo ilitokea hiyo shida ya virusi, kuambukiza virusi. Sikukuwa na mtu wa kuweza kunielekeza, sababu wazazi wangu walikuwa nyumbani na mimi nilikuwa maisha yangu ilikuwa Nairobi. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa natembea kiholela. Wakati nilianza kustukia nikakuta kwamba nimezaa jitambukiza kwa hiyo lisima.
Knowing of his status after visiting a voluntary counseling and testing center, his wife would later test negative, something that saw the couple join the list of discordant couple in the country.
Bibi yangu ako negative, mimi mwenyewe niko positive. Tulitumia kondom. Kwa sababu wakati wote tukitumia kondom bila tuelekezwa na daktari, tutaendelea kusurvive na kuishi. Na hata najaribu kuelekeza community katika kikundi yetu, kuielekeza kwamba ni lazima wote wawe wanachua mwito ya daktari. Na mwito ya daktari nasifanya maisha yao yaendelee.
According to the 2007 Kenya AIDS Indicator Survey, 5.9% of married or cohabitating couples in Kenya were discordant for HIV. 77.9% of Kenya AIDS Indicator Survey respondents reported they did not know HIV status of their sexual partners, especially in casual partnerships. On the other hand, men who have sex with men account for 15% of all HIV infections in Kenya, according to the 2008 Kenya Modes of Transmission Survey. Dr. George Githuka, Program Manager for Key Population Programs, Ministry of Health, says male sex workers can no longer be ignored although their work is illegal.
A study was done in the year 2008 and showed that a third of all new HIV infections that occur in Kenya can be attributed to the key population. Meaning, of every 100 new infections that are occurring, HIV infections that are occurring, you can attribute 33 of them can be attributed to the key population.
Though their stories are told in different lens, age disparity, and different sexual orientation existing between the three, they do share a lot in common. They are all HIV positive and have learned a lesson the hard way, but they have devoted their time in living positively and sharing their compelling stories to make a change in the society.
When we were launching the MAPS program in Kenya was in 2009, Crossing the Tap. All of us joined together so that, but if you say we are crossing the tap, one community is being stigmatized, HIV will not end in Kenya. So I became a champion. And then I joined with my 7 friends of mine who are gay men and they were positive. And we went for training. We went through a river of life. So everybody started blocking their tears. And so everybody who was actually there, even the female sex workers, out of 30, I think 20 were positive. So we all became one. And from that, I said, oh, John, you are not alone. Now you have to adhere to drugs, take medication, do what it takes, become a champion.
I was looking back at my life and feeling, had I waited? And now that's why I have a story to tell these kids. That really when you say abstain, it's not because we don't want you to enjoy sex. It's because we know you're not responsible enough yet.
Kila mtu ajichunge mwenyewe. Number 1, akaenda kwa daktari apatiwe dawa za ARV, asiongeze na pombe. Manake kuongeza pombe hiyo ni hatari kwa maisha yake, na pia atajanganyikiwa na atasahau saa ya kumeza hiyo dawa na maisha yake itakuwa inaendelea kukatika. Isitoshe, mtu akitaka kuwa na mwenzake lazima awe na condom. Bila kuwa na condom, unajua hapo sasa ni riski, sababu atakuwa anajiangamiza, nguvu zake zinarudi chini na kutoroka kwenda kwa Mungu ni haraka. Kwa hivyo mtu ni vizuri aelekeze maisha yake mwenyewe vile inatakikana na daktari.
As Hoimas, we want to reduce the rate of MSMs from 18% to maybe to 8% for people who get infected every year. And that's why we have over 400 MSMs who we are here, and we speak very proudly that we are positive. That's why we as Hoimas, we give people food here. We have a ARV storage where we keep ARVs. We have a lounge where people can sleep when they come here and they take ARVs during the day. And that is the line of the way that we would like us to go as an organization in terms of health.
Disclosing your status is not a must to the whole world. That's a personal choice. It's a personal choice that I chose. If you feel you're not ready to talk to the entire world, at least make sure you talk to the people who are close to you. Talk to your family members. Let them know what is going on with you. It is not healthy by any way for you to keep it to yourself. It's not healthy when you go having relationships and you really know that you are infected, but you infect others. It's not healthy to you and it's not healthy to others. When you have to have a sexual partner, at least make sure that these sexual partners knows of your status. If they don't appreciate you as you are, then it's better you are not with them. You're better off without them.